Yep, I think we are live. Good, good, good. Yeah, I think thank you so much for everyone to join this community call. I think every week have this community call to share some progress with you, but this week we got different topics. Today we have my one of my favorite friends here, and also the Bitcoin expert, the Bitcoin ecosystem guru, David or Dudu, in the
Hey,
house.
what's up, my man?
Yeah,
Good to be here.
good to be here.
Dudu is my nickname, and it's the name I'm re-embracing. Actually, I was on a call with people from China when they heard the name the first time. They first started laughing.
And I think I would like to, give you some time to introduce yourself. I think what you do right now and what's your focus, how's your life right now. So yeah, have a flow, please.
So I've been in Bitcoin for 7 years now. I got in 2017, and I've really been in the industry like from the start, working across NFTs and DeFi and ICOs and most recently in real world asset tokenization, Joe, where we met
Mm-hmm.
at INX with security tokens. And now I'm back. I'm investing and learning about Bitcoin more than knew before about Opcat, about ordinals, about runes, getting involved in that ecosystem, working with different projects and building in that ecosystem, and just generally trying to bolster the mantle of Bitcoin more and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a key point. I think me personally meet the David when he was still back in INX, but now I think his life is much more interesting. I think I really enjoy following his X accounts, right? And
Thank you, my man. I'm much more on X these days because
uh-huh.
X is where the DJs are at. And I used to be a lot more visible on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a more B2B, institutional audience. And that's really not where I'm at. I'm in the trenches now, bro.
Exactly. I think there are more like Bitcoin enthusiasts on the X than the Bitcoin and then on the LinkedIn. So I think as you mentioned about key points, right? I think everyone, if you follow Dudu's or David's X accounts, you could figure out that he got BIP 420 as part of his account name. So uh, just literally brief introduction. I think BIP is an old standard. I think a similar standard back in like 10 years ago, I believe. And I think for me, what I understand is it's enabled the smart contract for the Bitcoins. So I think since you got the name as part of your X account, I believe you got a deep involvement and deep understandings about
Yeah.
BIP 420. So like, could you share more about like what your understanding about BIP 420 and what gets you so involved into this?
So is this how it's what is how we were showing live? Like, am I also in the little screen at the bottom, or am I on your big screen?
Yeah, yeah, you are on my big screen, I think.
So I wonder how what the people see because I see you in big and I see myself in small. But I'll check the live afterwards. But
Now we
regarding
are not
BRP,
comparable. We are side by side.
yeah, regarding BRP 420,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's BRP 420. I think Udi and the Taproot Wizards team, they wanted it to be 420, but I think they got a different BRP number. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, let's cover quickly what a BRP is, a Bitcoin Improvement Proposal. It's the way that you devs can recommend and push upgrades to Bitcoin. So
Mm-hmm.
it goes through first the proposal of finding the BRP number, and then there's a whole debate around it, discussion. People comment on the GitHub about the BRP proposal,
Mm-hmm.
and then if it's got very large consensus amongst miners and amongst devs and nodes and everything, then it can get pushed to the production. So DRP 420 is Operation Concatenate. It was a it's part of opcodes of different functions associated with Bitcoin scripting language.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mention the word smart contracts are it's a very fine line. It's a very tight needle to thread because on the one hand, a smart contract is something that Ethereum created. It's
Yep.
got a lot more vulnerabilities. It's got a lot more feature set, a lot bigger feature set, but a lot more vulnerabilities as well. A smart contract. Then Bitcoin scripting language, which is it's essentially that what we're adding now what's called covenants. It's essentially Bitcoin scripting language allows you to create uh, conditions around how the Bitcoin is spent.
Mm-hmm.
So you can create multi-signature wallet, and you can create time locks where if someone doesn't, if I sign and you don't sign within 2 hours, then I don't spend it, or if you have 2 hours, you can I sign and then in 2 hours the transaction can happen. You can get those kind of signatures,
Mm-hmm.
and the additional functionality you can also inscribe data onto the Bitcoin blockchain. That how ordinals and runes kind of work. Now, all these opcodes they together taken comprise of Bitcoin scripting language. It's not the level of smart contracts in a sense of feature rich, but it also has the advantages of not having the vulnerabilities of a smart contract.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Bitcoin development moves a lot slower, moves a lot more measured pace.
Yep.
But Opcat specifically would allow you to take two data elements that are on the stack. What does that mean? It means I can inscribe a message, two messages, and take those two elements, and then I can concatenate them. Concatenate is a function that if you use Microsoft Excel, maybe you're familiar. So
Uh-huh.
you can concatenate first name, last name, in strings into a full name.
Yep.
That's one way of using concatenation. But the main way of using concatenation is for Merkle trees. So
Oh,
Merkle
cool.
trees underpin the verification of all of crypto, Web3, DeFi, everything. And with Opcat, you would be able to add Merkle trees to Bitcoin. Bitcoin already uses them. It already uses a Merkle tree. It uses concatenation to concatenate, transaction hashes.
Mm-hmm.
The transaction hashes, there's a Merkle root of those transaction hashes.
Mm-hmm.
But Opcat, I think, and to my understanding, I'm trying to get the best data available, and I'm still learning about this.
Okay.
But what you have is the transaction hashes are concatenated to form the chain, the blockchain that
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin, but arbitrary data, any other data that's stored on the Bitcoin blockchain can't use that same hashing functionality, the Merkle root, because it doesn't have the concatenation.
Oh.
So concatenation would allow for a much more expressive covenant, much more complex four ways of spending your Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and which will eventually down the line. I don't know if layer one DeFi on Bitcoin will look the same as it does on Ethereum, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually down the line, the concatenation will allow for DeFi, for stable coins on Bitcoin,
Cool.
for real world asset tokenization as well. I think that's going to be, I think that's maybe a year or two out, but we're going to start seeing real world assets starting to tokenize themselves on runes,
Cool.
and having those runes traded on either Bitcoin layer twos or Opcat. So
Yeah.
that's in short. I honestly have not met many people
Mm-hmm.
that except for the Taproot Wizard devs and like a few of the KC from the guy who created Ordinals. I think there are maybe 10, 15 people in the world that understand it, fully. The concatenation, not only like how it works technically, but also, for me, where I kind of get lost is, as you mentioned, smart contracts,
Mm-hmm.
DeFi, and that the connection of how does necessarily does, and that's where Merkle root comes, I think.
Cool.
How does concatenation lead to all those riches that I was promised? Like at the end of the day, it's a very simple function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's interesting because in the previous months there are lots of like focus on the Bitcoin layer two. I think most of layer two they are EVM comparable. So I think what I learned from you're saying is that so the BIP 420 is basically building the decentralized finance on the layer one instead of layer two, right?
Yes, I think layer twos will be able to use it as well, because one of the main use cases of BRP BRP 420
Mm-hmm.
is bridging, but I
Yeah.
think its main focus would be around layer one for sure.
I think that's amazing. So, and also because you mentioned about market trade, so I'm imagine that is also comparable with the Lightning Network or even like Taproot kind of things to make all the things I think transaction smooth as it could be. I believe.
Yes, so the Lightning Network, I think it's being upstaged by,
Uh
I
huh.
think Opcat will kind of is a competitor in a way to Light. But then again, I'm not 100% sure how it can interface with all the different, all the different protocols. They will all build one on top of the other. And that's the beauty about on Bitcoin.
Uh huh. Exactly. Exactly. And I think from your saying, you also mentioned the key points about it's about runes about from Casey, right?
So runes. I got into while I was still at INX because I kind of, I was experimenting with Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and I got into buying some ordinals, and I got back then there was airdrops, free
Yeah.
rune token.
Yeah.
It was all, it was all, it was all airdrops. It was all like with free money every day. It was crazy days.
Cool.
But then I learned a bit about runes, and then I got excited about it because I see Bitcoin as the most decentralized, liquid, most secure chain on blockchain.
Correct.
And now we have a way that BRC20s is also around, but it's a bit inefficient. Now we have a way that mimics the creation and transfer and distribution of tokens that Ethereum has on layer one
Mm-hmm.
with no added. You don't need to add and you don't need to add any consensus changes. So I liked what I saw.
Exactly. As we know that Rune is based on the UTXO, right? So there's no additional data. I think they need to be storage based on every UTXO. So I think, like you said, I think I got Rune's airdrop as well. I think early this year, and I think they got lots of different airdrop every day. And I think one one interesting thing is that Runes really cause some heavy usage on the Bitcoin layer one because I think on June 8th, I think lots of like we get as a Bitcoin miner we get 10 times like verification rewards on that day 10 times compared to the like usual days. So I think from our perspective, because HAG we're a Bitcoin miner, so I think we like the ecosystem to boom. So I think this is also some focus I think I would like to shout out. So like, do you hold any runes right now, or do you get any
I
airdrop?
hold runes. I'm not selling any runes. I
Or
sold a very small amount that I got in the drops,
uh huh.
but I'm holding most of them. Now is an absolutely pathetic time to sell runes. Do not sell runes right now. They are in the toilet. Very volatile. Like we saw a big pump in all the pre runes, all the runes after the halving, and since then, the rotation has the capital has rotated to meme coins and other sort of narratives. But I believe in runes for the long term, so
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, I think people think rooms is kind of the meme coins, but I think eventually, I think ever realizing how it works, I think as a Bitcoin network believer, I think I also I'm 100% for the rooms to boom, 100%. But how do you think is it rooms better solutions compared to BRC20, or I think it should exist simultaneously to make the things more comprehensive? So what do you think?
Runes is gonna. I think BRC20s will exist as sort of. They will exist in parallel, like Unisat, which is one of the bigger. They're like an exchange, marketplace, wallet, whatever for Bitcoin
Mm-hmm.
assets. They just airdropped pizza, which is their sort of token, meme token, and it was BRC20. It was kind of surprising because everyone else is doing Rune airdrops at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think BRC20s will hold on. I mean, the OGs like Audi and Sats, right now they're bringing in, they're about $1-2 billion market cap. They're moving up and down. I don't think they have any plans to move to Runes. I think it's going to be very sort of nostalgic, the BRC20 game.
Uh-huh.
But I think most of the protocols and the projects and the entrepreneurs and everything new that I see rolling out is definitely prioritizing rune support. So
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't have BRC20 support start going into the halving, you're starting with a runes focused product. That being said, the runes tech is still very early. For example,
Yep.
if you don't split your runes, you could get screwed. What do I mean by that? You can you sometimes when you get your runes, you get it in one UTXO, right? Or you get five UTXO. But let's say you have a UTXO with 100,000 runes
Uh-huh.
of a certain ticker. If you don't split your runes, you can sell. You could accidentally sell that whole chunk of 100,000 in one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still all these nuances, because it's based on the UTXO model, all these nuances that don't exist on the BRC20 side,
Mm-hmm.
on the Ethereum side, exist over here with the runes.
Okay. Yeah, I think post halving, like immediately after the halving, they are crazy. Like people spend crazy amount of gas fee on the Bitcoin network, or you could say the transaction fee. So and like few days before, it also is the rooms that brings the Bitcoin network to get really busy. So I think me personally think there will be a trend if rooms they got the benefits for the Bitcoin network because it will not bring additional like heavy usage on the Bitcoin network. Even though if lots of people dive into it, it still will make some like crazy surge on the transaction fee as well. But I think in the future as a Bitcoin miner, we are pretty happy when the rooms get higher and
Yeah.
higher. Yeah.
Hopefully, I hope for you as well. I think it's cyclical. I don't think you'll ever get the. I mean, there was a day during March, April mania that transaction fees actually surpassed the block subsidy.
Correct.
As minor revenue, that never happened before.
Yeah.
So that's part of a glimpse into the future. I think the future, that's definitely the way it's going. Like people are going to want to inscribe and trade all type of assets on the
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin blockchain. I mentioned real world assets as well. I think it makes sense to tokenize. If you're talking about stocks or bonds, whatever it is, on the most liquid, secure. If you tokenize a stock, a lot of real world asset, projects like when I was at INX, like you speak to a lot of L1s, like real world asset L1s. Like if JP Morgan wants to tokenize like their 300-year portfolio, or some Swiss Credit Suisse wants to tokenize, some funds that have been in their custody for centuries. They're
Yeah.
not going to want to go to some shitty, neighborhood L1 and take that kind of reputational and take that kind of L1 risk. They'll want to tokenize and use as a ledger the most liquid, secure, decentralized uh, network there is. And then and that's for creation and distribution and management of the assets. Like
Mm-hmm.
like with security tokens, for example, there's a trading transfer agent, right? And
Yeah.
that's like the most ridiculously stupid piece of regulation I've ever heard of, because the blockchain itself is a transfer agent. I
Correct.
can see who all the balances, and with Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is the best transfer agent known to man, because it's going to be there 25 years time. It
Yeah.
doesn't have conflicts of interest. It doesn't fight. It doesn't invest. It doesn't take leverage. It doesn't have takeovers and M and A, and it doesn't. Bitcoin is the best transfer agent. No fintech, no bank, nothing can compete with using the hardest money known to man, the hardest ledger known to man,
Yeah.
as your transfer agent. So I think, when we talk about RWA, I think the natural next step, like obviously private chains will have a role to play. I think Ethereum is seeing some volume, and I'm a fan of Ethereum, what they're doing,
Uh-huh.
but there's no second best. Like when it comes to the home of, and then look, there's some sort of an unanswered question: is how do you get high frequency trading and DeFi and all the other bells and whistles on Bitcoin. But that's why you get there's another Bitcoin L2 that's raising money every Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Bitcoin L2, Bitcoin L2, and then even if they just have an EVM with like a Bitcoin wallet connection, everyone's rebranding.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a Bitcoin L2, you're rebranding as a Bitcoin L2.
Correct.
So people are working on this. There's in 2 to 5 years, and at the same time, as it takes to if you're launching a new Reg D offering in the United States, you're locked up for 1 year. In that year, until your tokens are liquid, I promise you, Bitcoin will have a way to trade it, like some sort of a DEX or some sort of a terminal or some sort of a. The question is, then you need to sort out the licenses and the regulation and that. But I think in theory, the Bitcoin, technology will get to a place where it can facilitate the 24/7 trading of assets on the L1 or L2 very very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I deeply 100% agree with that. I think you share some interesting news. Is like Middle East, they are thinking about paying the petroleum based on the Bitcoin basis, right? I think yeah, I think it might be truth. As my understanding, there are lots of Middle East governments. They are buying the Bitcoin mining servers. They are mining their own Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I suspect, everyone suspects the same, like, Gulf states, Qatar, Bahrain, like, UAE, like,
yeah.
the countries where, and this is kind of where we've shot ourselves in the foot in the West, is that if you want to adopt Bitcoin now in Israel or in the UK or in whatever, you need 5 commissions to write papers, to go there, to petition this minister, to get the UN approval, to get the
Correct.
Joseph Borrell and the head of the EU bank to approve, and that's the headache. Over there, you call up, Mohammed bin Salman. He's heard about this crypto thing from his friend Jared Kushner, and he wants to buy in. He makes 2 phone calls, and they max bidding, hundreds of millions an hour on Bitcoin, right? Or buying up all the servers and setting up a farm and starting to mine. Or Burma, like Myanmar, was another country that was, found to be mining. So that's, I think, where they have the edge, where where there's like a authoritarianism. There's
Yeah.
someone who can make a decision quick, because by the time you get Bitcoin through committee, you already lost out on 2, 3 more X multipliers.
Correct. So get rid of those stupid paperwork. What that means.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Bitcoin will make you do that. I think, but like, El Salvador, like, or just prioritize the right things. If you prioritize getting Bitcoin through, I definitely, there's something to be said about checks and balances that are afforded in a, in a state with those checks and balances. But get them grease the wheels so they work faster to adopt Bitcoin. But I think we're far from that. I think we still need to get to a place where, and that's the next bull run catalyst. Right now we have BlackRock ETF, meme coins popping up, Bitcoin DeFi. Slowly but surely we're going to see some more. We're seeing some more companies. We have a company from Japan, MetaPlanet, that started investing
Yep.
in Bitcoin. We have another company, CSLE, I think, Scientific Clear, another US based company. So companies are starting to announce, Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And the next wave will be when we start to hear, the G7. Let's talk about, like, Italy and France have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and now they want to convince the other parties to play.
Yep.
So I think we're a couple years away from that. When that happens, like, that's mega send. We're talking 7 fig Bitcoin and northward, because by then Bitcoin's a legitimate, it's a legitimate uh, geopolitical asset.
Yeah. I think you mentioned about company they are putting the bitcoins on their balance sheet. I think one progress, because I major in accounting, so I think there's a one progress from the FASB or the GAP and the international accounting principle for this. I think there are rules for them to allow them to have how to bookkeeping their bitcoins on hand. So I think that's a good thing for the mass adoptions. So, when we look into markets recent days, some community members are pretty depressed about this. So, I'm not asking for any financial advice. It's like, at this moment of time, like what you think, how you have in mind.
I think my financial advice is that as sad as you are right now, that's how I know. That's how much I know that you have too much shit in your portfolio. Because if you're just holding Bitcoin, like we're about 10% down from all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
We're within the range of the previous all-time high, right? So we haven't broken that macro trend long term. We're oversold on the 1 4 hour candles, so we're gonna start to see a recovery soon. The question is where it will take us. We'll keep ranging and then we'll break out. So if you're holding Bitcoin, this isn't a violent collapse. Like we've tested 64 twice in the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of days, recovered pretty easily. So you shouldn't be phased. So while people is thinking about taking a knife to their feet is because of altcoins. Like altcoins and the rest of the market out there is just getting hammered across the board. And
Yeah.
and I think the someone shared a tweet that there's around 6x as many altcoins today as there were 3 years ago at the heart of the bull. So the same amount of money is sloshing around and chasing 6x the amount of coins. So this kind of over financialization,
Mm-hmm.
it goes in waves, up and down. So at first, the kind of we got a big pump in things like AI and gaming
Yeah.
and real world assets, and these are all things like when you think of an AI like peak network pumping, like these are all crazy use cases that we could have only dreamed of 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
like a token to coordinate activity amongst Deepin, for example, token to coordinate activity amongst servers, amongst mining farms, and whatever it might be, like real world use cases, not
Yeah.
white papers from 3 4 years ago. Gaming, you're seeing studios put out games like real top studios, indie studios, and then on the real world asset side, like Ondo Finance, they have hundreds of millions of dollars in TVL, and they got that really quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got all those RWA coins that the leader of the category leader of RWA. But we're seeing things that we haven't seen before. And then meme coins had a run, and celebrities got involved, and it got very ugly and stupid. And now we need to flush it out. We
Yep.
need to get back to the realistic sort of build it up organically and realistically again, and understand where we are in the cycle like that. Because there's a lot of innovation out there, and we've come a tremendous way in like using tokens as incentive mechanisms for games, for deepen, for different for different use cases. But there's still let's
Mm-hmm.
if we've come like 100%, if we've done like a 1x growth in terms of where we were in utility,
Uh-huh.
we've probably done a 4x growth in terms of where we were in total hype and bullshit. Like
Yeah.
the froth to the signal to noise ratio is much higher today than it was in the past.
Uh-huh.
Just because of the sheer how easy it is to, if you open pump.fund, it's like a new token every 1 second. Boom, 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 boom. New tokens are coming out,
Uh-huh.
like it's like a slot machine, and it's addicting, and it's very quick, and it's a lot. It's mostly nonsense, And we like everyone says 90% of the coin will go to zero. That's what the Bitcoin maximalists like to say. Today's day and age, it's the case of 90% of the coins will go to zero in 10 minutes. And that's quite literally true. If you look at the tail end of all
Yep.
these pump fun coins, I mean, I'd love to do a real study on it, but 90% of the coins will probably go to zero in 10 minutes. So we need to flush that out. We need to get back to sanity. So what I would say, not financial advice, but life advice is first of all, always like check your like if you have any conviction buys. Like right now, I'm all in, so I can't really buy the dip. But if I had, I kind of deployed before we peaked the first time, and I'm just waiting on my call.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have, this it could be out already showing value now, and a lot of them are have the good community, big hype, big narrative, big price action, lots of good real technology, top VC backing. So it's the right time to look around at Alt. Number one, number two is that's what very little sliver of your percentage of your holding. Like the most important thing is to use this bear market instead of looking for alts, rather use it for upgrading your BTC custody,
Uh-huh.
making sure you do a seed phrase, recheck, sort of a validation, or whatever it is, learning more about opcat, learning more about Bitcoin custody, about macro, whatever it is that can hold your conviction in Bitcoin. Because the worst thing you can do is put Bitcoin and everything else in the same bucket, and then when I'll start crashing, or when there's a big event that shakes you out, like when it comes to the other 99% of the market,
Mm-hmm.
hodling is just what you say hodling is. I don't ever say hodl, because that's just insincere, and that's you're just a scammer if you say hodl. But these things are cyclical; they go up and down. Like, you're not going to say hodl. Hodl is something that, like, if I went to sleep and woke up in 5 years, that I'd be confident to know that the prices remain unchanged and even increase. So that's why, like, Bitcoin is a different bucket, and you should think of it like that.
Yeah.
Even if qualitatively, even if you might have a lot of money in altcoin, it shouldn't be the most. It shouldn't be, even I would say 25% of your portfolio, 30% of your portfolio is altcoin.
Hey, David, I think we miss your voice. I think I cannot hear you right now. Sorry, David. I think we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you right now. Maybe like checking your microphone, or I think it's about them. Yeah. Or do you want to rejoin like really fast, or uh yeah, I think we could not hear you right now. Sorry. But anyway, I think or like it's about time. It's I think we basically get whatever you want to say. Like uh, I think I cannot hear right now. Can't hear you. Nope. Nope, I cannot hear you. Oh, I hear you.
Okay, hear me because I'm not connected. Maybe now again.
Okay, yeah, pretty clear. Nice.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I think I was ragged by Sony or someone.
That'll be fine. Yeah, I think I totally you sure about like saying it's a times like don't buy too many altcoin, don't put too many kind of trash
Yeah, I
in your
think,
portfolio.
look, I'll tell you the truth. I'm involved now in the crypto market. I'm working with projects. Some of those projects have tokens, and I'm going to work with more projects that have tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in the token economy. I think tokens were a great innovation in the history of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Ability to financialize pretty much anything in a second.
Yeah.
However, we're still, as a species, learning what best to do with them.
Yeah.
So that's why you see, for every one, real thought out use case with token economics and game theory and a real technology behind it. You have 10,000 fake imitation or catcoin or celebrity racist slurs, and not enough serious thing. So that's why I kind of like I don't. I'm not a maximalist because I work in a token economy.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it can be beneficial for people to do it. Like up to, I believe it's beneficial for people to learn, how to operate it, how to make money from airdrops, how to make money from uh, from farming,
Yeah.
from LPing, from there's a lot of different ways to make money. But that doesn't mean you have to expose yourself to existential risk on a daily basis by
Yeah.
having a bag of altcoins and sort of going naked long on a whole bunch of shit that you don't understand. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of like why I want to build it up. Like now that I'm on my own 2 feet, like I've given a lot of thought to how do I like what is my mission in this world, and it's to the mission of Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin plus having that little accelerant of 10% of your time, your money, whatever, if you're a retail in the altcoin market,
Yep.
uh, it's in order to give you financial freedom. It's in order.
I think we lost you again. Sorry, we lost you again. I think.
Wow. Okay, I'm
There we
back
go.
here. Saying it's all about that. That it's all about that. Financial freedom. And I think if you learn how to play crypto correctly, you learn how to do airdrop farming. For some people, airdrop farming, a four-figure airdrop every couple of months, that could even be enough to survive. To make a living.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very best, to like you only need a half day job after that.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what I'm after, what I'm learning. But it's got what I'm learning and what I'm teaching, what I'm trying to get people to, give them the alpha on where to position themselves in altcoin and how to use it in a way that how to take as less risk as possible, even zero risk, just to learn the space, right? Just to understand the technologies, and then maybe I can stake here. If I've got ETH already, I can farm in this way. I can stake in this way. If I've got Bitcoin, this is how I can get some yield on it. Kind of learn and where can I get points for using the app. That's kind of the content I want to bring, as well as
Mm-hmm.
obviously the macro and obviously the bigger outlook, bigger picture, and how it ties into Bitcoin. So I think bottom line is that altcoins are great in moderation. It's like a very powerful liquor.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Not only care about APR or APY, care about the Sharpe ratio. That means you need to take the risk into consideration. So yeah, I think today we are pretty happy to have you as our speaker. So everyone, please go follow Dudu on Twitter, on X. He will share some good information in terms of the macro, in terms of the Bitcoin ecosystem, or different anything related to crypto. So yeah, I think thank you so much for your time today to talk about the rooms BIP 400 and some like